This is not financial nor professional advice. This video is for entertainment only. Hey everyone, today I'm going to be reacting to a video by Thrill Seeker. He's on YouTube, and the name of this episode is called The Best VR Headset in the World. I Can't Go Back. Today, I've been talking about Facebook and why I'm investing in it because I believe in the metaverse, and I think it's going to lead to some exciting things. And I think it literally will change our perception of reality. And this is the reason I want to show you this video. Thrill Seeker on YouTube, he's testing, or not testing, he's using a device that's used by very high-end research laboratories and companies, and it's very high price. It's like $7,000 a year to buy it, and then it's like $1,700 a year on an ongoing subscription basis. So it's very expensive. But they recently have come out with a consumer version. It's called the Vero, VARJO, the Vero Aero, VARJO, and then Aero is AERO. And this consumer version is around $2,000 with no strings attached. That's probably still much too expensive. I'm going to wait for it to come down to around 1,000 because we know technology always gets cheaper, and it will become cheaper and more usable. And it's not quite as good as what he's going to show in this clip, but it's 90% as good. Let's put it that way. So I wanted you to see this and see how it bends his reality, and he's used to virtual reality headsets. So this isn't like a new experience to him, but this is so improved that it's literally testing the limits of his reality. And I think that's going to be an experience we all want to get into, and how it blends. He literally says at some point that reality versus the gaming or the visual part of this device becomes somewhat blurred at one point, much to his amazement.
Everything looks so clear and so real. You have to try this. You have to try this. I sound crazy. Over the past 5 years of me practically dedicating my life to VR, I have tried literally dozens of VR headsets, ranging from $10 to $8,000. Some were good and some were terrible, but only once have I ever put on a headset and been completely speechless. And that was the first time I put on a VR headset, until I put on this headset that we're talking about today, the Varjo XR3. And it's honestly so good that I'm kind of mad about it, because I'm about to rip out a kidney just so I could afford one. Plus, this thing's just pretty. So I want to get this out of the way right away. This is the Varjo XR3. It is a, wait for it, $7,000 VR headset, and I've been trying to get my hands on one for almost a year now since it released in December. I've wanted to figure out why so many companies are writing rave reviews about it, and why it's so expensive, and what does it really do differently or better than this $300 headset that I have here. I mean, how can you justify buying one of these versus 23 of these? And now that I have it in hand, I have an answer. I did want to say though, whether or not you actually want to buy one of these, or you're just interested in VR technology, this is not only one of the most expensive headsets out there, but more importantly, it's one of the most advanced VR headsets out there. The tech crammed inside of the XR3 is almost as mind-boggling as experiencing it. I mean, just to power it, you need 2 power bricks and 2 DisplayPort 1.4s. That alone should tell you that we're not dealing with some regular old VR headset here.
This headset has a lot of equipment like LiDAR that you really don't need for home use. And that's the way they were able to reduce the cost. But you can see this device has amazed even him, and he's a veteran of headsets.
something a little different. Now, let's start talking about actual specifications of the XR3. It's jam-packed with hands down the best displays I have ever seen in a VR headset. Rocking a peripheral LCD display at 2880 by 2720 per eye, which, to give some context, the Valve Index's resolution is 1600 by 1440. But the XR3 doesn't just have two displays like most headsets. It actually has four. And this is where it gets interesting. Varjo has called this the Bionic display. The two larger screens serve as peripheral vision, while a set of smaller micro OLEDs at 1920 by 1080 fill the center of your vision, giving what Varjo calls human eye resolution. And you may think 1920 by 1080 is a really low resolution, but since it's a micro OLED, it has an insane pixel density, with a perceived resolution that is estimated to be more than 70 times greater than an HTC Vive. I'm not joking here, there are absolutely zero visible pixels, but we'll talk about what that actually means later. The XR3 has eye tracking, and using that eye tracking, the headset automatically sets the IPD personalized to each user the moment you put the headset on. But that's not all. It's SteamVR tracked and fully SteamVR compatible, so any games just work. It's got Ultra Leap hand tracking, dual 12 megapixel pass-through cameras, and for the first time in VR, LiDAR sensors for real-time 3D reconstruction. And the field of view isn't bad at around 115 degrees, pretty comparable to, again, the Valve Index. And things aren't all perfect, of course. There's zero audio on this headset, I guess so people can add their own crazy high-fidelity headphones to their crazy high-fidelity headset. And possibly due to these lenses, there was a little pupil swim, which makes the image a little wobbly on occasion, and that sucks. But it's honestly a very small issue compared to what else this thing offers. So let's start off with what this headset gets right with just the design. Beyond the physical design language of the headset, which is really pretty, this head strap is exactly what I want my own future headsets to have. It has adjustment on the back of the headset for overall tightness, which is normal, but it has a dial on the top that holds the headset to your forehead, so there's very little wiggle when moving around, and it's got side dials that further tighten it to your head. When this
That's the big advantage I see of this. It sounds like a minor thing, but to have that thing fit perfectly on your head uh, allows you to do all kinds of movement you can't do with a lot of other things.
thing is adjusted properly, it's not flopping around, even if you were to say run with it. Now, let's finally talk about these displays. Other than just for gaming, I've been searching for a real alternative to using a monitor. If you use, say, a VR headset as a monitor, you wouldn't be limited to screen space or windows or really anything. You'd have an infinitely customizable workspace to do whatever you want. But the problem I've always ran into is VR headsets just aren't clear enough to be an actual replacement, at least not professionally. Text is often blurry, even if it's just a little, or colors don't look right, and I end up always going back to a monitor in defeat just because it's easier. And this is the first headset I would seriously consider using as an actual monitor replacement. It's so clear, it's almost weird. And going back into games I've played over and over again, it's like revisiting entire worlds that are remastered in higher resolution. And the field of view here isn't anything groundbreaking, and it's probably the one thing that is certainly beat by many other headsets, but everything is so clear that it sort of makes up for it. And I think this is actually a really clear example. I got a VR game dev to try their own game that they already stare at for hours a day in VR to try it on the XR3. And this was their reaction.
Wow, it looks so good that I'm confused a little bit. Do people know about this yet?
Getting into typical games just feels, for lack of better words, magical. And I really don't want to go back, but just playing games with a higher resolution with extreme clarity is not why I'm even making this video. And it's not even the real magic. I had probably one of the legit trippiest VR experiences I have ever felt or had with this headset. And
This is where the blending of reality with the game, I'll call it, becomes confusing. And even the person that just tried it briefly, he was getting sort of confused. And I do wonder with people that have trouble perceiving reality, whether, this can take them into another world where they don't want to go that quickly. Some people that have trouble with reality do not want to be using this headset.
This is where it gets actually magical. The XR3 isn't just a VR headset, it's actually in the name. Varjo does sell a VR3 for less than half the cost, but the XR name is where things get crazy. Using LiDAR and the cameras and hand tracking and the sort of augmented reality world, you can bring objects into the real world. And this isn't necessarily something new. I mean, Oculus has a form of it with pass-through API updates, but this is in an entirely different league. The stereo 3D cameras in super high resolution make pass-through on the XR3 feel kinda hyper-realistic, and I'm gonna explain it the absolute best I can. It's almost like reality is a game. It doesn't look quite real, but it doesn't look fake. And it also doesn't feel or look like you're just using camera pass-through, which I've used lots before. So when you place a super detailed and lit model of something in that hyper-realistic weird space, it really trips out the brain, and sometimes it's hard to tell what's real and what isn't. And I found myself jumping when things flew at me and staring at things. And then something really weird happened. There's a demo for the XR3 that brings a life-size human body into your play space. Now, I don't normally feel this, maybe I'm just unlucky, but there's a very common term in VR called phantom sense. It's where it kind of feels like you're touching something in VR or something's touching you when there's nothing actually there. The brain just fills in the gaps. But in this hyper-realistic XR environment, I, for the first time, felt a full phantom sense experience while I know it's kind of weird, slowly touched this mannequin in my room. I felt tingles all through my fingers and some heat and a little warmth and a little texture too. And it got me so wrapped up into the experience that I was practically shaking by the end of it. It blew my mind in a way that I've only had the first time I hopped in VR, and I've been chasing that fresh VR feeling for 5 years now. And now I'm standing here with what I thought would just be a standard, overpriced enterprise VR headset, experiencing that all over again, but even greater. Because 5 years ago, to be honest, VR kind of sucked. I mean, it was amazing at the time, and it's significantly better now, but I was amazed by a roller coaster simulator at the time. Now, I'm legitimately having slight trouble distinguishing what's real and what's not. And this led me down a very interesting path that I can't stop thinking about.
You know, the Buddhists have always said that what we perceive is an illusion, and in a sense it is, because we don't directly experience the world. What we experience is our senses sending messages to our brain, and then our brain interpreting it. And our brain can either add or delete things. And it does this to economize how much you have to pay attention to. It sorts out details that aren't relevant, and you want to focus on what's important. And your brain does that automatically. I think it has survival value. But I experienced this, and this is really the first time where I felt like I saw under the cover of reality. I was in a car accident, and as the car collided, as the crash occurred, which I was going 50 miles an hour, and a car sprung out from a side street out of nowhere. As I hit, I didn't even have time to hit the brake. It was that perfectly timed, and that split second that it happened in the snap of a finger. But I swear that when I think about that accident, I can see it in slow motion, and it's like it took 30 seconds. There's no way it took 30 seconds. And after, as I was sitting in the car, I was just kind of like this, and I think that was part of it, that my brain was just trying to process all that had happened. But I think that's the first time I realized, you don't directly experience the world. It is an illusion. There's things going on that you don't see. There's things that you're editing out. There's things that you're filling in later. Um, it truly, and I think he's having that kind of experience that, oh no, this mannequin, there's no way this mannequin is giving off heat, yet I felt heat. The brain threw that in there. That's adding a perception.
Now, I knew that it would get better over the years inevitably, but I didn't know that VR technology is this far along. That after literal thousands and thousands of hours in VR, I can be completely speechless and shaking because of a new headset and a freaking tech demo. VR always has this thing where you know you're in a simulation, and for the most part, especially after you know how VR works, you know what's real and what's not. But I'm here bumping into things and crashing into monitors and staring at stitching on a freaking virtual car seat for Pete's sake, and jumping when my friend just barely touches me. And gosh, we are way further along than I thought. And it's so exciting because while VR has gotten a lot better over the years, it's kind of stale sometimes. And what used to excite me and immerse me just doesn't hit the same anymore. It's like I'm desensitized to where we're currently at with tech, and it's sad. And that's why I'm so excited. And look, I know that 99% of people watching this video won't and can't buy this headset. I mean, neither can I. I'm just borrowing this for a month from a company that let me borrow it. Thanks, Foxcard Solutions, by the way. But if the only thing I can do is share my experience as a VR enthusiast to other VR enthusiasts, then here it is. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, is that there is so much more on the horizon for VR and XR. The technology is there and it's coming and it's kinda here. Every person I put in this headset are VR veterans, and they're over here second guessing everything because that filter between real and virtual feels more blurred than it's ever felt before, and I don't mean that lightly. All I can say now is I hope that Vario pushes for a more consumer-oriented headset anytime soon. It can drop the automatic IPD adjustment and even drop the resolution by quite a bit, or drop some of the LiDAR, and it'll still likely be the best VR headset available for consumers. VR games look amazing, and XR looks unreal but not uncanny. And I can now see why Vario is in business. I can see why this headset costs so much, and I can see why company after company rave about the XR3. It's not blind hype, and I wish I could share it with every single one of you, and if you really want to, you could just go out and buy this headset right now and use it to hell, and also pay the annual $1,000 subscription that's required, and then come back here and tell me how your experience was. But I wouldn't do that unless you have some very serious cash lying around, because this is what's coming. This high fidelity blurring of the lines between reality and virtual reality is what our futures look like. It's right here in my hands. It's just out of the reach of everyone that actually wants it. But trust me, my VR family, we've got a very bright future, an exciting future of hardware right in front of us. And this has shown that to me all over again. Kinda like putting on my first headset like I did all those years ago. And it's reminded me there's a lot to look forward to.
So he had quite an amazing experience. I think we all will be experiencing this. I want to wait till it gets down to $1,000 anyway, and maybe closer to 500 would be good. I don't want to pay much more than I pay for my laptop, for a cheap laptop at that. But maybe if it gets down to 1,000, I'll be tempted. This was from Thrill Seeker. The episode is the best VR headset in the world. I can't go back. And I suspect none of us will be able to go back once we experience it. And I think in 2-3 years, most people will have one of these. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe so you receive more videos. I'm going to do my next video on the best things to invest in the metaverse. And I'm investing in Facebook now, but there's a lot of other companies, and I'm going to talk about the various aspects of them and which one is safest and which one is a little more speculative, so that you can choose which one will be best for your situation. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.